We are now talking to Eyes on Isles blogger, Michel Anderson. What's going on, Michel?
Not a whole lot. What's going on with you guys?
Well, besides looking at Tyler's face for the whole show, I mean, I'm pretty damn good.
What's wrong with Tyler's face?
I mean, well, he's...
Thank you, Michel. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's not the first time Michel's ever said that, but good.
His hairline is definitely at loss, and, he needs to tweeze those eyebrows. They look like a bunch of bushes, so,
That's harsh, man. I get the fading hairline. I got the same thing in there.
Yeah, well, I think you're
right down there.
I thought you were
me.
attacking me, too. I was going to be like, what the hell is this?
I think you have a little bit... I think you have a little bit more hair than he does, okay?
I think it's the comb over is doing me some justice here.
Well, how old are you? How old are you, Michel?
38.
I'm 29.
You're my age, so he's 29. He's losing his hair. So that's
now, you know what the screwed up part is? He's got that hat on, but he's got a ball of hair under there.
Yes, I do.
He's got enough for me, you, and all of Africa, and he's just hiding it under that stupid hat.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I wear a hat for a reason because I don't. For some reason, with headsets, I don't like to wear them on my bare head, so I have to wear a hat during the show. It's just something, unless I spike my hair, but I don't really like to do that during the show, so I wear a hat. But honestly, that's the reason why I wear a hat, because I don't like to wear a headset on top of my head. But it's like something. It's weird. Anyways, I do that even when I DJ. If anybody knows me as a DJ, I'm usually wearing a hat. If I'm doing a party, I have my hair spiked, so I don't really have to feel it on top of my head. So, anyways, tell us a little bit about your blog. How long have you been doing this blog? How many followers you have, and what made you decide to write about the Islanders?
Okay, so how long? 5 years, I'm going to say. About 5-6 years. My son's 6, and I started doing it when he was born. Followers. Oh, I guess if you get the only thing that has a number is Twitter, and that's around 1,800.
That's good. That's good.
It's a decent amount. Yeah. It's a healthy amount. And why did I decide to do it? Well, I was working full time as a federal government employee, and I didn't like it. So I was like, this cannot be my life. I cannot keep doing this 9 to 5 thing anymore. So I like hockey. I started writing about hockey, and that's been the last 5 years of my life.
And you're getting paid for it. So there you go.
I am indeed. I'm getting paid for it full time. I don't work there anymore. I officially quit 2 months ago. So This is the full-time gig, baby.
Oh, there you go. So good. Congratulations.
Living the American dream. Look at that.
Living a dream, writing stories about the Islanders. So you can't.
No, well, the Islander part could probably
No,
be.
you can't hate that. I love that. I
love the shirt. I like the shirt, Errol.
Yeah, but anyways, so why don't we get into the New York Islanders? And in the beginning of the season, the first 2 games, the Islanders didn't look good. They gave up 10 goals actually 11 goals in the first 2 games. They looked poor. Sorokin, obviously a young goaltender coming into the NHL, coming from the KHL, bigger ice. Last year you saw in the playoffs, he gave up a lot of rebounds, which actually affected him later in the rounds, and why Varlamov eventually took over against Tampa Bay. When you look at Sorokin right now, position where he is, and Varlamov coming back, do you think this is his job to lose?
I don't think it was ever his job to begin with. So the way things have started out this year, it was always going to be 1A, 1B, assuming they were both healthy, of course, and that wasn't the case. So it was him. They were not going to be playing Corey Schneider. That just wasn't going to happen. So it was really a 1A, 1B, 50% down the line for Sorokin, 50% for Varlamov, and maybe it changes a 5% here or there based off of whoever's playing the best at that time. But I don't think it's his to lose, because it was never his to begin with, in so much as only his. This is very much a partnership and a duo and a tandem. And the fact that Semyon Varlamov is coming back just reinforces that. There's no loss, there's no negative here. It's just pure positive for the Islanders right now.
So long term, if Sorokin does end up taking over kind of as that main starter type like he's supposed to, what do you see them doing with Varlamov? Do you see them re-signing him cheap? Do you see them maybe moving him? Maybe a sign and trade type thing? Or do you think maybe he'll end up maybe getting an extension on this current contract?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Because when you look at the Islanders, they're stuck up against the cap. So keeping someone who's on $5 million like Semyon Varlamov is for this year and next doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But the way that the NHL is evolving, you need 2 strong goalies, right? Gone are the days where you have everyone has their one guy that they play 60, 65 some odd games. It still happens, of course, but those days are going away because they're going into this. We have stronger caliber players that we can put in and that we can share the crease. So you don't see these $10, $11 million goalies so much anymore. So I could imagine they bring him, they keep it on, just like they did with like Ross Johnson, right? They're keeping Ross Johnson for 4 years. Why don't you want to keep someone who's a Vezina caliber goalie, right? He was 5th for the Vezina Trophy last year and probably should have won it, in my opinion, for another couple of years. Now, of course, the salary cap does factor in. So we've seen the Islanders shed $5 million contracts for the last couple of years now. Can they shed this one next year? Yeah, probably. And they might just do it. I see that as the likelier option rather than an extension and keeping him. Not because he's not good, just because we need to make some space, and $5 million is a lot of space.
So obviously the Islanders have been the backbone of the Islanders for the past 2.5, 3 years has been their team defense and coaching and everything else. They showed last year that they needed an elite scorer to really get them over the hump, and that was really their flaw against Tampa Bay, not having that one guy send him out there and get the puck in the net at any cost. Besides Barzal, do you see them being able to get a star on this team with him to just finally get this team to get to the Stanley Cup?
Are you asking me if the Islanders are ever going to find an elite level winger for their first line center?
Yes.
Because that has been a question that's been going on for the Islanders for
A long
since
time.
2009, right?
Let's forget the first guy. Let's just forget all about him.
I think they have that one on the team. They just got to move him over there to first line.
Are you talking about Oliver Wahlstrom?
That's exactly who I think should be on the first line.
Yeah, so I don't think he's going to be moving there this year, while I don't disagree that he probably should, or at least get a chance to do so at least regularly. To get to your question, Tyler, I don't think they're going to go out and find one. I think, like Errol is saying, they're going to have to find one internally. And right now, the hope is that that's going to be Anders Lee. Right? Like Anders Lee is going to be that 30, 40 goal scorer for their system. And they'll deal with that. And then they're going to add or supplement that with a bunch of 20 goal scorers like Barzal, Palmieri, Wahlstrom, Peugeot, probably even Bo.
So the Tarasenko
Nelson.
buzz is done.
No, I don't think
so.
it's done. I don't think it's done. I think if he becomes available at the trade deadline and they can get him for a swoop, maybe a Bailey and maybe a pick, I could see that happening. I mean, they're going to have to shed some money because Varlamov, Tarasenko, and you know this, Tarasenko next year and the year after is only making $5.5 million. So if you trade Bailey in that trade and maybe a pick to make them happy, you could get that done.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like bringing in Tarasenko is the play ideally because, again, like the marriage between Tarasenko and the St. Louis Blues is as fractured can be. It is very much on life support. But like Errol said, he's making $5.5 million in terms of total salary, right? That's the actual money they're giving him. But his cap hit is still $7.5 million. But if you can move, say Bailey, that frees up quite a bit of space to make that work. Can they do that this year? You can always work the math, right? Like, if I say no, someone is going to be screaming their mind out, going like, "My cap-friendly page says they can," and they're right to an extent. You can make anything work. Can they actually, in the real world, get it done? I'm not so sure. Not now. Maybe next year. And then that's where you talk about the moving the Varlamov as you did earlier. And maybe someone else, Cal Clutterbuck, maybe coming in at a lot less than $3.5 million per year. And now you're starting to, okay, well, now we've got space. And we know already that Tarasenko is healthy. There's no question about that. So that question may not linger next year when this discussion has to be taken up again.
I think Kyle Clutterbuck will sign. He will sign back with the Islanders. They'll sign for, obviously, a cheaper price. I think they're going to try to keep this fourth line together because I think this is the best fourth line in hockey. And this is really who they are. This is the heart of their team, that fourth line. But I want to get into the players that they brought in the offseason. You talk about Zdeno Chara and obviously Parise, two guys that I thought were going to play a big part of this team as they move forward in the season. Two veterans, two captains, two guys that have won before. So when you look at Parise right now, obviously right now playing on that third line, obviously with Peugeot and Wahlstrom, Do you think Zach Parise will figure things out and actually start playing like the Parise we remember? And Zdeno Chara, I think he's going to absolutely help. If he's going to help anybody, he's going to help the goaltending, especially Sorokin, growing in this league, especially that 1 year contract. So both players, what do you see with both of these players as they move forward in Barry Trotz's system?
I think Zach Parise has already proven that he's worth the money they're giving him already. He doesn't have the points, but when you look at the underlying numbers, he's doing exactly what the Islanders want their players to do. So the whole Islanders system, you guys have talked about it before, is defense first, right? They play a lot of defense. And I think the best summation of their system that I've heard is it's a bend, don't break system, right? They invite all types of offensive pressure, but they know that we're going to keep you to the outside and we're going to limit your dangerous opportunities, and then we're going to score on our own. And to do that, they need to be playing solid defense and transition that defense into offense. And when you look at the underlying numbers for someone like Zach Parise, Oliver Wahlstrom, and Jean-Gabriel Pajot, they're very, very, very good at that. They start over 60% of their zone starts in the D zone, but are yet some of the only positive players when it comes to Corsi and expected goals for on the entire team. Mm-hmm. And when we're talking about positive expected goals for, we're not talking about like just a little bit over 50. We're talking like 60%, which is really, really good. So like they're really good at doing what they're supposed to do in the system. So for a guy like Zach Parise, he's already doing what he's supposed to do. I have no worries about him at all. When it gets to Zdeno Chara, that's a little bit tougher because he very much looks his age, right? He's 44 years old. He's not, he's long in the tooth, right? Specifically for the NHL. So when it gets to his speed, that's kind of an issue. But it's not the big issue that everyone's making it out to be. Like the Islanders were never a fast team to begin with. So I don't think we need to worry about like, oh my God, the team is slow now because they have Chara. They were slow to begin with. This is just making them, yes, a little bit slower. But I think what we're failing to realize here is that bringing in extra speed probably wasn't something that Lou Lamoriello could have done. Mm-hmm. Now, you talk about Zdeno Chara's impact on the team. Sorokin for sure is going to benefit from it. But a guy like Noah Dobson is definitely going to benefit from that. You got, the sweet whispers of Zdeno Chara like pounding down from like the mountaintops, literally, into Noah Dobson's ear. That's going to help him grow.
Dobson's not a slouch either. I mean, 6'4". I was at the draft, okay? And I remember when Oliver Wahlstrom was drafted, I think at 11, and then Dobson was drafted at 12. I went down to interview both of them. Wahlstrom's a stocky 6 foot, 5'11" type of guy, yeah. And then you look at Dobson. I was looking up, and he's got a personality. And first of all, he is huge. And I told him, I said, we're expecting big things from you, especially with your size. He says, well, I'm definitely big, that's for sure. and we both started laughing. His publicist is not much of a nice guy, but nevertheless, we had a lot of fun. And I think Noah Dobson's going to be a star in this league for many, many years to come. But I think as far as looking up from it, he's not that much bigger than Noah Dobson. That's for sure.
That's true. And it's wild to think, right? Like 6'2", 6'4", you're thinking that's 2 inches, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I'm 6 feet. My buddy Matt is 6'4", and I feel like I'm yelling to the hilltops whenever I have to speak to him. He's only just a little bit taller than I am, but like even then, like when you get to Chara, or the difference between Chara and Dobson, 6'4" and 6'9", it's just 5 inches. But like, my God, it really stands out. But he's going to benefit from that, just like Charlie McAvoy, Dougie Hamilton, and even Johnny Boychuk did throughout their careers, of hearing what Zdeno Chara has to say.